The thing about music in retail is that a lot of us are used to it. We are so used to it that we never really pay attention to the importance of it. Why are you doing music in retail? Is it because you want customers to come back? You want them to feel good while they're there? To buy more? Let's have a conversation about that. Here's an overview I really want you to pay attention to. So, the thing here is that when you think about music and retail together in the same sentence, you need to have a clear idea, the goal that you're trying to pursue. We are so used to hearing music in retail environments that most of us, including you, including me, we're not really usually aware that it's even there. And some retailers are so used to the accepted wisdom that shops play music that they really invest little thought into what's played and what effect it has. And that's a big mistake, because what is played and what effect it has, those are important elements that are part of your sonic brain, your audio brain. By the way, boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here and have a quick convo with you about music and retail, how to use sound to increase sales, how to use sound to deliver a great branding experience, how to use sound to solidify your customers' attachment to your brand. It's really important to understand that when we talk about music in general, but most importantly in the retail environment at your shop, music is the most powerful sound out there. I'm not talking about like a song from an artist. No, I'm talking about music in general. Music in general. Because music directly influences mood and induces people to act in a different ways. If you don't believe me, the next time you go home, or if you're home right now, I want you to put 2 or 3 different types of music and see how your body will react, yourself or your children or your family members. So music is important. And it's really important to also understand that if you want to influence customers to actually act in a certain way, you have to play a specific type of music, but you have to play it consistently. It's not about just playing one type of music like, today, and then tomorrow you play a totally different one. No, there has to be consistency in your sonic brain, in your audio brain. When we talk about sonic brain, if you're trying to establish your sonic brain, it has to be a specific type of music. It doesn't have to be the same sound, but it has to be consistent. Here is the approach I really want you to pay attention to. So when we talk about playing music in a retail environment at your store, at your shop, for example, you got to really choose the right music. Now, letting your staff bring in their favorite CDs or their favorite MP3 players or whatever, like their favorite sounds from home to play behind the cash desk might be a very cheap option for in-store music, and it might keep at least a portion of your workforce happy, yes. But an unplanned and possibly unpleasant mix of music types is unlikely to delight the majority of our customers. And that's what we care about. We care about the majority of customers. I mean, we care about your staff. Don't get me wrong. I care about your staff. You care about your staff. But when you think about your staff, 3 or 4 or 5 people or 10 people versus the hundreds of folks who are going to come and bring revenue to your store, I think the math is pretty clear where your priorities should lie. Okay, so the risk of random music playing in store is that it becomes irritating to customers who may unconsciously spend less time and less money. See, the whole thing about music is that people are not going to say it. They're not going to say anything, but they might actually feel it. Okay, so when they feel it, that's a problem. By the way, boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here, to have a quick convo with you about music and retail. I really appreciate having you here. And by the way, I want to remind you also, today's topic, we're having a conversation about music and retail and how to use music and retail to increase sales, how to use sound to increase sales. The thing is that the reason why I said you really need to pay attention to the type of music you choose is because we don't want to have randomness. We don't want to have some kind of crazy sound. And the last thing you know, you're like, wow, what the F is that? I mean, who's playing that? And even you, the boss, even you, the store owner, you're surprised because you're like, okay, why am I hearing this in my store? You know why? Because you allowed your staff to choose. You allowed someone to choose. You did not have control over it. If you're a small store, you don't have the budget to hire an audio director. So you got to do things yourself. It's not about what you like. It's not about what your staff likes. It's about what your customers will like. And the most important element is what type of action you want to induce them to do. What kind of CTA, call to action? Remember, when we talk about music and retail, we in our company we have been researching this for 20 years now. We do something called the sonic CTA, audio CTA. So it's really important to understand that. So if you play music in store, you got to think about what kind of music you play. So have you looked closely at why you do it and what you play? Because the type of music that a customer hears has been shown to directly impact what he or she spends. And basically, in our research, we have found that the use of classical music led to customers at a wine retail buying more expensive wine. Think about it. Okay, so if you are selling wine right now and you were playing classical music, and this has been shown over and over and over in research, basically people tend to buy more expensive wines. So it's really important to really analyze that the tempo of music also has a demonstrable effect. In other words, if you're playing fast music versus slow music versus let's say anything in between, you are about to induce a certain type of behavior. It's not about like, magic or whatever. No, it's really science. Okay, people react to certain music in a different way. So fast music speeds us up and slow music slows it down. It is what it is. Logic, right? Customers in a restaurant stayed longer when the music playing was slower and spend more money on drinks. And other studies have shown that fast tempo music gets customers moving faster through a store, while slower tempos results in a higher spend. So the question is, what kind of strategies do you want to implement? What kind of goals are you after? So it's one of those things. If you're a retailer, because we're talking about music and retail, if you're a retailer, you got to ask yourself, what is my goal here? I mean, your goal is to have people spend money, right? Okay, spend more at your store, or this could be you want them to get the F out of there as fast as possible. I mean, maybe you have some foot traffic problem at your store. Your store is small, and you want folks to come in, buy stuff, and just leave. This could be a possibility too. So many retailers we have seen in our research use background sound to increase sales with agencies who provide businesses with businesses with specially chosen playlists of music based on what mood or atmosphere needs to be created. Let's talk about an important element. It's called sound zoning. You probably will hear this a lot if you are interested in sonic branding. And it's important to understand that sound zoning in retail is the technique of playing different types of music or sound in different areas of a store, depending on what's been sold or what kind of impact you want to have on the target customer. And this is important because let's say you are selling, like you are a clothing store, right? And you are a clothing store, you sell women's clothing, you sell men's clothing, you sell children's clothing, and you know you are going to attract a different type of audience. Even though for children's clothing, you are going to have parents and children. So you are basically going to have sound zoning. So in the men's department, you're not going to play something that appeals to the female population and vice versa. Okay. And what's really important here is that if we were to go back to our example of a clothing store, so a clothing store might pipe loud music in areas where younger ranges are displayed, switch into classical or more ambient music in areas aimed at older customers. And it's really important to understand that when you have a sound zoning, if you play it well, you are going to have like 5 or 6 or 7 different types of sounds in different departments or different areas of the store. So pleasant music in stairwells or other transitional areas can encourage customers to move around the store. And you want to have that experience. You want to have that capability. Like you want to tell customers, hey, listen, it's okay to move. It is normal to move. It is actually encouraged to move, to go from point A to point B. It's all about your strategy. Let me give you an example. Let's say you have a store, right? And you are selling very expensive items in one spot, and you're selling like cheap and affordable items in another spot. What you want to do here is that you want to basically you want to, like you are putting the affordable items at the, let's say, at the very entry. So when people get in, they see the very cheap items right off the bat, and then you need to have a strategy whereby you actually lure them in. You attract them to the back of the store where you have more expensive items, and this is where you are going to use sound zoning. So let's talk about volume. So besides sound zoning, you have other techniques you can use if you are trying to use music in retail to your advantage. You're trying to really boost sales. You are trying to increase all kinds of, not just sales revenue, but also you're trying to maybe let customers spend more time at the store, because you're thinking, the more time they spend, maybe they will actually spend more money as well. So volume plays an important role. How loud do you set the volume of music in your store? Talk to me about that, because it probably depends on the kind of store you run anyway, and your target customers, right? So if you're talking to a younger audience, you're not going to play like some sound with a very loud, not loud. I mean, if you have a younger audience, chances are you want the sound to be heard, and you want to put like something very high, which is totally different than the strategy you would adopt if you were talking to or you were trying to resonate with an older audience. So clothing brands aimed at a younger customer, let's say, segment, might play loud pop music, which can create a sensory overload that leads to quicker and sales. And quicker sales is kind of cool, but you might have like if you have a loud, let's say, a loud sound, you might want to create a less deliberate decision making. In other words, you don't want people to actually think too much. You would just want them to buy stuff and just get the F out of there. I mean, again, this could be a possibility because you are trying to create a space in the store. And again, going back to what I said earlier, if your store is small and you are trying to really pay attention to foot traffic, you just come in, you want the customers to come in, buy and leave, come in, buy and leave. Then you can have like a very high volume in that if that's the goal. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. What are we talking about? We are talking about music in retail, how to use sound to increase sales, how to use sound to boost revenue, how to use sound to create a sonic brand experience for your customers. And so if we take the example of a volume, for instance, a boutique aimed at an older clientele might play quieter classical music, aiming to slow customers down to increase spend. Let's have a conversation about the sound of silence. I know you're probably like, what is he talking about? Sound of silence? Oh yeah. There is an entire body of research that talks about science, the science of sound, but also the sound of silence. The thing here is that when we talk about sound in general, we do not understand that sound can also be silence. The question is, what kind of niche are you talking to? Like if you're selling something where you need the customers to actually think, and you want customers to have a silence in their head, serenity, you want them to be in a very quiet area. Like think about when you go to a museum, for instance, right? If you want customers to really sort of pay attention to very expensive pieces of art, and usually you don't want to disturb their thoughts with music. You want them to really think. And or sometimes when you go to, let's say when you go to a monastery or you go to a religious place, you're not going to hear music. And because you are trying to induce the customers or visitors, for that matter, to act in a certain way. Now, of course, when you go to a religious place, the goal is not to sell necessarily artifacts and other souvenirs, but you get the point. The point is that silence sometimes plays an important role. Okay, and the thing here is that we're seeing right now in our research that a lot of big shops, big retail shops, are trying to scrap all together, all pop music, okay, because they are trying to really they're trying to connect with their customers, and there is an entire body of research that shows that depending on what the customers want, you can either have music or not have music. And so it's all about what you do. So the way you implement this is you have to do this by phases. It has to be trials and errors. See what your customers like. So what you want to do is, if you're interested in this goal, though, because not everybody's interested, you might say, you know what, no, I'm not interested in that idea. I'm just going to keep playing music anyway. Or you can say, you know what, I want to give it a shot. I want to see really what the effect will be. So what you do is that you don't actually do the change right away. You have to wait a little bit. So you do it gradually. So you can actually, like, so if you are playing like music all day long, start playing music like 4 hours in a day. So your store is open 8 hours and you play music only 4 hours, and then you bring it to 2 hours, and then 1 hour, and then no music at all, and see. Let me give you a bonus here. So before we close to this conversation, it's really important to understand that when we talk about music in retail or sound in retail in general, you got to ask yourself, what kind of sound are you trying to play? What kind of music are you trying to play? And I don't even have a time to talk about the copyright part of things, okay? Because if you are going to play music in your store, you better make sure that you take care of the copyright part. I mean, thank God you have a gazillions of platforms out there that can actually feed you copyright-free music, copyright-free sound, so you don't have to go to court because somebody's just suing you. But I want to talk to you about sound skips. So the thing here is that when we talk about sound skips, we're speaking about a specific type of sound, okay? And the thing here is that you got to ask yourself, what kind of sound are we talking about, and what kind of sound works well with your staff? And so many shoppers actually report finding tinned music or muzak irritating and intrusive. And some retailers are consequently looking at alternative ways of harnessing the power of sound to increase sales. And when it comes to increasing sales, but not only sales, but improving customer experience and really boosting overall brand attachment. So the most innovative retail sound system today is moving beyond straightforward pop music to carefully designed soundscapes that mix music with other audio elements to create a design experience specially tailored to the location. What am I trying to say here? I'm trying to say that based on where your store is located, instead of having just music, you are having music, a combo of music, and maybe this could be a sound of water. It could be a sound of nature. It can be a sound of the beach. It can be any type of sound. It can be birds chirping away, birds singing. So what you have in here is that you're not having like just regular music or regular audio. You are having a combo, and it's called the sound skip. So if you are able to have a great sound skip, you are going to let your customer stay more or stay longer at your store, buy more, and enjoy the overall experience. Okay. And usually one thing we have seen this, and you probably have seen it also, is that airports of all places prefer soundscapes as opposed to music or as opposed to sound. They want to have a combo, because the goal here is that they know that you have a diversity of customers, and it's important to appeal to all types of customers with the right sound. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I was just talking to her about music in retail and the importance of having the right sound in your store to actually boost sales, to increase to improve customer experience, and most importantly, to deliver an impeccable sonic brand experience to your visitors. Thank you. And just want to quickly recap here. I gave you the overview. I explained to you the approach. So when it comes to choosing music, sound zoning, volume, the sound of silence, yeah, and also sound skips. Thank you. God bless you. I'll speak to you another day. But until next time, stay marvelous.